I don't know nobody that can do it like this. I've been on the ground.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Awkward Situations, the series where you guys write comments about awkward situations that are happening or that have happened in your lives, embarrassing stories, or anything else you want to talk about in the comment section below. And then I take a few of those comments and I talk about them in these episodes. I know I've used that intro track in the past couple of episodes of Awkward Situations like this by Packy, but I'm really feeling it right now. I've been listening to it a lot lately, so I hope you don't mind me using it again. It's linked in the description if you want to listen to it on the Spectators Collective page. So, what are we doing today? We're doing a couple of updates. Got 2 updates for you on previous awkward situations, and then I have 4 awkward situations. I have a full folder of awkward situations right now. I could make 2 episodes, and my water bottle just made a noise that is sitting next to my microphone. I hope that didn't bother you. Getting close to Christmas, trying to jam some videos onto my channel before the holidays happen. I have a lot of great videos going up this weekend and next week. Next week, I will have my best of the year shit from last year, best of every video I've posted on my channel in 2017. Gonna have a shit from last week regular episode. I don't know when I'm going to post that because I also have to figure out when I'm going to post my Crew Christmas episode that my friends and I do every year. It will probably be the 24th, but I want it to be on the 25th. My friends want it to be on the 24th, so I'll either post mine when all of my friends have already posted theirs, or I'll just go with the flow and post my episode when everyone else posts theirs on the 24th, which is when Crew Christmas will likely be up for any of you who are fans of that series. But without further ado, let's get to the updates right now. First update. We talked about this in the last episode of Awkward Situations. Links in the description to the updated situations in the description if you want to go back and watch the situations before we talk about the updates. But this was someone who was trying to decide if he wanted to pursue a degree in astronautical engineering, even though it was expensive and he would have to pay a lot more to get that degree, and it was kind of a more difficult process than an alternative degree he was going to choose. But he updated and said, "Hey Joel, so you covered my college situation last week regarding my dream degree and choosing between student debt and a degree. I'm glad to say I've chosen ASU, and I'm going to pursue a degree in astronautical engineering, combined with your support and the merit scholarship I received of $70,000. I'm choosing ASU. Thanks. Oh, and by the way, I'm the same kid who had the math competition situation earlier this year, back in like April or May. So I'm just helping this guy out with his entire life. I talked about his math competition earlier in the year, and then he's going to college. It's great to see these young kids grow up. So I'm glad you made that decision. I don't want to have this series turn into Joel makes difficult life decisions for me. It's not fun to make difficult choices in life. Sometimes you're choosing between something that's risky and something that's safe. Sometimes you're choosing between one of 2 bad options. But making difficult life choices is part of growing up. It's something we all have to do, and the more choices you make, the more able you will be to make more difficult choices as you go on in life. I find that things that concerned me at the age of 18 to 20 are not as concerning to me when I am 27 and looking at problems that I will be facing in my 30s. But I'm glad I made those choices, right or wrong, in my early 20s because it helps me be more ready to face the choices I have to face as I grow older into adulthood. So I just want anyone in the comments who's making difficult choices to know we're all there with you. I'll cover some of them. I'll give my outsider opinion on some things, but I am not all-knowing. I am not incredibly smart. I'm just a guy talking about comments left on his YouTube videos on the internet. So with that said, let's move on to the next update. Next update is also from the last episode of Awkward Situations, I believe, but it might have been 2 episodes ago. Either way, I always link it in the description. It was a guy who was trying to decide if he wanted to pursue a relationship with a girl he was texting in California. The guy who wrote this situation lives in Illinois, and he was saying he really likes this girl and he feels like she understands him really well, but to have to pack up and move to California would be a huge risk. Again, a difficult life choice. You don't see your family too much, and he's young. And I said that you have to be practical about things like this. Sometimes you just have a texting buddy. I've had girls I thought were my girlfriend when I was young, and I was texting them, and then you talk to them on the phone, and it's really awkward and all of this stuff. So I would not advise moving your life to California for someone you like on a cell phone. So that was my 2 cents on the matter. And the update says, follow up to the Cali versus Illinois texting relationship situation. Thank you for answering my question. Joel, means a lot. First off, to answer your question, no, we haven't talked on the phone, but we're still texting. And she has expressed the idea of possibly moving to Illinois because she lived in Cali her whole life. And she said she loves rain and the cold that she doesn't get over on the West Coast. I do agree that we're basically just texting friends, and I've also thought about it quite a bit, but I don't plan on pursuing a IRL relationship. Again, thanks for your input. Well, that's interesting. I mean, that's how I feel too. I could not live in a lot of really warm states. I might be able to live in Texas. We have some family in Texas, Megan and I, but I like the Midwest, so it would be cool if she liked it too and she wanted to visit you. I would hope that she would be really sure about the trajectory of your relationship. If she was going to pack up her life and move there, if she didn't just want to live there in general to get away from California, if she wanted to live there to be with you and the relationship goes south, then she could be really spiteful that she moved her entire life to your state and her family's not there and she came there for you and the relationship with you breaks down and she's in some foreign state that she's not used to. But I hope it all works out. That was super negative. I'm sorry. But it could just go bad, so be careful. Now let's get into this week's episode of Awkward Situation and some new awkward situations, starting with this one. First awkward situation today says, hey Joel, I kind of have an awkward situation. So I turned 21 back in October. Shout out to October birthdays. Woo, that's me. And before I went back to college, some coworkers at the bar I work at said they would take me out partying over winter break. This includes going to bars, the casino, and the one they are most excited about, the strip club. I don't mind drinking, and I'll go to the casino, though I don't really want to spend a lot of money, but the strip club is the one I'm most nervous about. I too am sort of a beta male and have never had a relationship or anything like that, and I'm awkward around most girls. I don't want to turn them down after I said I would go, but I also don't want to end up embarrassing myself too much. If it wasn't for the strip club part, I'd probably be excited about this, but I'm conflicted about how to handle this. Any thoughts? Also, thanks for all the content, especially Awkward Situations, one of my favorite series on YouTube. Thank you for everything, Joel. Well, it sounds like you and I have a lot in common, besides just being born in October. I consider myself to be a bit of a beta male, and I don't know if you drank before the age of 21. You didn't say that, but people who have been watching my channel for a while know that I didn't really drink until I turned 21. On my 21st birthday, I stayed up and played Call of Duty on the internet with my internet friends until 4 a.m. That's what I felt like doing on my 21st birthday, so that's what I did. And I didn't drink until I turned 21 for the most part. I had had drinks before in high school, but I didn't enjoy drinking until I became more comfortable with myself and felt like going out more. Drinking is a social activity, especially when you're younger. And I wasn't a very social person when I was younger, so I didn't like drinking. And then when I turned 21 and started feeling more comfortable with myself and going out more, I enjoyed drinking in moderation. And it's something I still enjoy in moderation. You don't want to go too crazy, so hopefully you really trust these people and you can say no to them when they're trying to get you blackout drunk, if they're trying to do that. Again, you didn't really go into that part of the situation, but I would just say be careful on your 21st birthday. I have seen many 21st birthdays living in or around a college town my entire life, and they can get pretty messy. So just be sure to drink in moderation and be able to say no to your friends. In terms of the strip club thing, I also am very similar to you. I had not been to a strip club until I turned 23, I believe. 23 or 20. No, I was 24 was the first time I went to a strip club, because the first time I went to a strip club was in Los Angeles at what I think was E3, but might have been some other gathering that a bunch of YouTubers would go to. I really do not remember why I was in LA at the time. I just remember that the first time I went to a strip club was with a bunch of YouTubers who are still big on the website, and it was an incredibly awkward experience. So the night is progressing. We are at a club. We're enjoying ourselves. Got some bottle service. Just sipping some fruit mixed with vodka all night. And it was fun. And then everyone decides that, I don't know who decided, but it just became a thing that we were going to a strip club. So being in a relationship with my wife, then girlfriend Megan, I texted her and said, hey, I'm with a bunch of people and they want to go to a strip club. Are you cool with that? And she said, yes, don't touch any girls, which I thought was very fair. Megan is a very fair, very loving wife, and we have a lot of trust in our relationship, so I appreciated that she said that. I don't know how I would feel if the situation was reversed and Megan was out with her friends and she texted me or called me and was like, hey, I'm out with the girls, we've been drinking, and we want to go see some dongs. We just want to get our faces slapped by sausages. The night's going to get crazy. How do you feel about that? I would be like, please don't touch the dongs, but you can look at them. Hopefully none of them are too big and you realize that you messed up by committing to me for the rest of your life, but it's okay, cool. Trust in a relationship. I would say don't worry about the strip club. I would be more concerned about drinking too much, but the strip club's going to be fine. Don't worry about being awkward at the strip club. At that point in the night, you'll probably have a few drinks in you, or maybe it'll be the start of the night and then you'll be drinking there. But either way, the anxiety should be gone to some degree because of the drinking. And everyone's awkward at a strip club. I was at the strip club talking about Call of Duty DLC with other YouTubers while there were naked women dancing around us. How fucking awkward am I? Right? So don't worry about it. I mean, talk about sports that day. You can talk with your friends and you can say thank you and you can be cordial to the girls. If you don't want to get a dance, you can say I don't want to get a dance. If you want to be one of only a few YouTubers who didn't go back to the VIP rooms and have very fun experiences, that's fine too. Maybe you feel like not such an alpha male, but you're also loyal to your wife, then girlfriend, okay? So it's not that big of a deal, and no one cares. Genuinely, no one cares. I don't think anyone's going to talk to you in a few days at work after this experience and say, you didn't go get a blowy by an adult dancer? I don't want to demean any adult dancers watching this video. They would prefer to be called adult dancers, I would assume, or exotic dancers or whatever. And, you didn't get a blowy? Why didn't you do that, you little beta bitch? I don't think anyone's going to treat you like that. It's going to be a fun, interesting experience. I would suggest not being concerned about it. If you truly don't want to go, you don't have to go. Don't feel pressure. You're an adult. Who gives a fuck what people think? That's one of the great things about being an adult. The older you get, the less fucks you give. My grandmother is turning 84 years old this year, and she gives 0 fucks. She will tell my sister when she's dressed like a whore. She will tell my brother when he's fucking up his life. She will tell me when I'm dressed like a little bitch. I don't know how I dress. My grandma doesn't criticize me for a lot of things. I gotta say, I feel like I'm my grandma's favorite. I'm sorry to my brother and sister, but she compliments me a lot, and it gives me a lot of self-esteem. Anyways, wouldn't worry about this. If you don't want to go, obviously don't go, but I really feel like it's not something you're going to be worried about once you're there. It's going to be an interesting experience. Was I nervous going to a strip club with a bunch of other YouTubers who I didn't even know that well? Yes, I definitely was. But sometimes in life, you just got to do things, and then you will be able to recount them as funny stories in your future. So I think it'll be fine. Have a great night. And next awkward situation right now. Second awkward situation says, hello, Joel. So a few weeks ago, my family had a huge falling out. It was a huge fight, and a lot was said, and it came out that my father isn't actually my dad. And for the last 19 years, I thought he was. We've never had a good relationship, so I kind of felt like I was missing a father figure anyway, but it was still tough. Learning that my siblings are only my half-siblings has kind of changed how I see them. They're younger. How can I navigate this, and is my reaction towards my siblings valid? Well, first of all, for any situation that really upends your mental state, whether it be what you've gone through or anyone in the comments saying they've been through a traumatic breakup and they're depressed, or you're depressed for whatever reason. Maybe you're not depressed, but you're certainly confused right now. I would recommend therapy. I've been to therapy many times in my life, and if you don't like the therapist you're going to, or if you went to therapy and you didn't like it, you could always try another therapist. I've had to shop around for therapists before. It's not a big deal. It's something that should not have a social stigma on it the way that it does, but I would probably recommend that in terms of really working through these problems and not just getting advice from some random dude on the internet who does not have a psychology degree. I think therapy would be the way to go. But in terms of you saying, are my feelings valid? I think any feelings that you have are your feelings. Valid or invalid, I don't know what that would mean or of what consequence it would be if I felt they were. I mean, there is no invalid feelings, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Your feelings are your feelings. I have people in my family who have discovered that they are adopted. My own father was adopted. Megan's mother was adopted. I had people in my life growing up who I just thought were friends, and it turns out they're my maternal grandmother, or my paternal grandmother, or paternal grandfather, rather. So it's certainly an interesting experience. My dad experienced it firsthand more than I did, so I can't tell his story for him or say how he was feeling. Obviously, I had the experience of finding out that my grandparents, who I have some of my best young memories with, first time I rode a bike, first time I rode a four-wheeler, first time I watched Star Trek, I found out that those grandparents are not blood related to me at some point in my young life. I believe I was 13 or 14. I had to think about how I felt about that. I had to process that. Come to find out, I didn't really care. It didn't really matter. Family is more than just your blood relation to someone. It's your undying affection and devotion to what is happening in their life and how you can improve their life. It doesn't matter if you share the same DNA. A father figure can be a father figure regardless of if they're blood related to you or not. And as you've said, this person didn't feel like a good father regardless. Even if someone's blood related to you and they don't act like a good father or a good mother, that says something about them as being a family member. That's obviously not a good family member. You don't have to be with a person in your life as a family member if they are toxic and they're not improving your life, if they are not helping you in times of need. That is not family. Family is a person who will always be there for you, who will drop everything just to come help you. That's a family member. It seems like your concern is more about your half-siblings. I think in time, you'll come around to viewing them differently. If they're your father's kids and you're not your father's kids, I guess your relationship with them could devolve over time. I've seen that in my own family. And you get over it, honestly. It's not the biggest deal in the world. As I've said, you keep the important people in your life. You value those important people. You don't waste your life trying to bring people into your life that are going to be toxic or that don't genuinely care about you. There's only so many people that you can have in your life at one time. As you get older, your circle grows smaller because you want to have the people closest to you. It feels comfortable. It feels safe. However you're feeling about your half-siblings, again, I would suggest working through it with a therapist if it's a really big deal to you. But I think it's just going to be something that's going to take some time. Got to process it. And however you feel after you process it is valid, regardless of if you think it's a negative outcome. So hopefully that helps, and I appreciate the comment. Next awkward situation says, Joel, I know you're super tall, so you could probably help me. I just entered my senior year of high school. I am 6'6". I have never had a girlfriend, and I feel like it's because my height is intimidating. I know most girls like tall guys, but I feel like 6'6" is a bit extreme for a lot of girls. Any thoughts? Well, I am super tall, 6'7" and 3/4 inches. Let's say 6'8" for the purpose of stroking my ego. And I felt like in high school it was difficult to interact with anyone, let alone females, being super tall. The worst thing for me was this social gathering area that everyone would hang out in before school started and after school ended. It was called the Dome. How our high school was set up was you would walk in through whatever entrance you came in. There was actually an entrance in this dome area, but it was this large circular dome area in the middle of the school, and all of the hallways to each classroom veered off from this dome. So it looked kind of like a spider, and the body of the spider was this dome that everyone would hang out in before the bell rung to go to your first class and after the bell rung to get out of your last class. And I could not hear a fucking thing anyone was saying in the social circles I would talk in unless I hunched over like some disabled giant, because it was obviously a very loud area with a lot of students talking in it at once, and the height of my ears was far above the heights of the mouths of the people that I was trying to communicate with. So a lot of times I would just stand in the dome and stand in my circle of friends, talking to each other or talking to girls, flirting with girls, and I would kind of just daydream. Stare off into one corner of the dome and just think about stuff, because I couldn't hear a fucking word anyone was saying anyway, and often gave up on listening. And I would be kind of quiet, crack a joke if I heard an opportunity to do it, but otherwise just not really interact. I would say, though, that being tall gives you a decent advantage in talking to girls and having a relationship with girls if you know how to take advantage of the height. It's an automatic icebreaker a lot of times. I would have random women, and sometimes random men, but more often than not random women, because women are more social creatures than men, come up to me and make a comment along the lines of, "Hey, you're tall." And I would not know how to spin that around into flirting with a woman, because I am extremely socially awkward, as I'm sure you are based on what you've said. I would usually say something like, "Thank you," or "Yeah." But if you could figure out a way to turn that around, and I'm sure this happens to you as well, and say something like, "Well, I appreciate that, and your ass is very fat. Here's my number." That would be really smooth. I mean, there's ways to, have a conversation. If you're like, "Hey, you're really tall," it's like, "Oh, thank you. Hey, aren't you in my class? What do you think about that class?" You start with what you share in common with people. That's the easiest way to have a conversation with someone. Any girl that I had a relationship with that went beyond the classroom started from talking about things in the classroom, like, damn, Mr. Edwards is a hard teacher, right? Yeah, can you believe he graded this paper this way? Yeah. So what are you doing after school? What shows are you watching? Stuff like that. You start with your common, I just hit my microphone, sorry. You start with your common interests, and then you go outwards. If you don't have a common interest with someone, figure out a common interest. This is going to sound like some real stalker shit, but when I was really interested in my wife, Megan, in college, I went on her Facebook page back when Facebook was really popping in 2009, and I looked at every single thing she liked to figure out what we had in common that we could talk about. I figured out what musical artists she liked. I figured out what movies she had watched. I figured out that she really liked Reese's Cups, and for her birthday, the first birthday that she had when I knew her, we weren't even dating at this point, I gave her a bag of Reese's. And I figured out she didn't even like Reese's that much after we started dating, but she liked it on Facebook for some reason. So she thought it was weird that I gave her a whole bag of candy. But, you know, you got to do your Oppo research. Well, not Oppo. You got to do your research. Oppo would be like you're an opponent of someone. But you got to do your research and try to find a way, not necessarily Facebook stalk, but maybe you could see what the girls are doing on Twitter or Instagram. There's so many ways to see what a person is doing in their daily lives because we're such an open society now with social media that it would be easy to find what you have in common with certain girls and then key in on someone. And I guess just not be afraid would be the other thing. Once you know how to talk about, once you know what you want to talk about, rather, you're less afraid. But in general, just try not to be afraid because if it doesn't work out with one girl, it doesn't work out. It's easier said than done, but it's not the end of the world. You'll meet many girls in your lifetime. So I would say if you like a girl and you have a common interest with her, probably something that has to do with school, then you could talk about that and see where it goes from there. But use your height to your advantage if you can. Like I could not when I was awkward in high school, and I'm still awkward, but hey, I'm married, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. This last one's a doozy, so stick with me. Yo, Joel, big fan of the channel and the series. Never thought I'd have an awkward situation myself, but it was bound to happen. Anyway, here's the story. I have two really good friends. We'll refer to them as A and B for the story. My friend A has an older brother who's 24, going through a divorce with his wife. They're separated right now, and A and B work together with her. One day, all of us, A, B, A's brother and wife went to a Halloween party. I noticed that B and A's brother's wife were overly close to each other. No one was paying attention to it, but I thought I was the only one who saw it and at first wasn't comfortable about it, but then later brushed it off. There was alcohol involved, but we're all of age. However, last week, A called me a little frantic, saying that he thinks that B and his brother's wife, or ex-wife, whichever, are messing around. He asked me if I ever noticed anything about it, and I told him what I had seen at the party. Come to find out, other people there had noticed it as well, but not the same thing that I had seen. Anyway, A confronted B about it and told him how it was kind of messed up. He'd go after his brother's ex and hope he'd stop. After A talked with him, B called me in secret to tell me everything, and that he knows it's messed up, but doesn't know what to do. I told him that I have a similar take on it as A does, seeing as how we're all friends and it's messed up to go after our friend's ex-wife. He understood it and continued on. However, it gets even deeper. I found out a few days ago, B tells A that he has nothing to worry about, implying that he was going to stop talking or seeing the ex-wife, but there are still times where they disappear together when they are on break. I feel that since I know these things, that it'll be awkward for any of us to be friends like normally. I see B almost every day because we work out together, and from what A says is that B avoids him at work all the time since then. Do you think that I should ignore the whole thing altogether since it doesn't necessarily directly involve me? I'm sorry if it's a long, jumbled up mess of a story. Feel free to ask anything else if there's questions. Thanks, man. Well, for those of you who are wondering how long to make your comments for awkward situations, this is about the maximum length of an awkward situations comment that I would read, so try to make it this length or less. However, this is a great situation. There's tons of things going on here. There's love, there's friendship, there's backstabbing, there's deceit, a tangled web of social interaction that we will dive into right now. So if you're watching this person who wrote this comment, I'll give you my advice first. I would stay out of this situation because, as you said, it doesn't directly involve you. I can't think of a time when I've had a situation like this happen to me in my life, but my brother is going through something like this currently, not directly like this, but kind of like this, and he is you in the situation, and he's staying out of it and just laughing about it and enjoying his own life. It doesn't really affect him. It's just something funny that happens between his friends. So if it's affecting you in a negative way, I would obviously say to cut these people out of your life, but I think you could be like my brother in the situation and just be like, what the fuck are my goofy friends doing? Who cares? I'm doing my own thing. So that's one option. I would say there are times when I would intervene in a situation like this. For example, if the wife or ex-wife was not separated and was not potentially an ex-wife, I would definitely be like, that's really fucked up what you're doing. It's dangerous because STDs and stuff. And it says a lot about your character that you would ruin someone else's relationship. So if that was the situation, I would say to intervene. I also think it says a lot about your friend's character in general. I'm talking about B here, that he would do this, because not only is it a relationship that was broken that's very close to your friend group and that could be detrimental to, that already probably is detrimental to the strength of your relationship with your friends, but it's a situation in which a woman is probably hurt emotionally, and I would assume the ex-partner is probably hurt emotionally. These are both emotionally distressed people, and in times of emotional distress, sometimes we make rational or irrational, rather, decisions. And hooking up with the younger, I'm trying to remember what the relationship is now. I'm looking at the comment in front of me. So who is she hooking up with? She's hooking up with the friend of her ex-husband's, or maybe not, the divorce hasn't been finalized, so I'm just going to say the friend of her separated husband's younger brother. Man, you guys have an interesting friendship. So that's what she's doing, which is, it's not like, I don't think one forced the other into it. We'll just assume that they both willingly did this. Not a great decision by her, but she's emotionally distressed. So this is a situation in which your friend should have more self-control. B, I'm talking about. And he does not have self-control. And then he's lying to A about it and then telling you, he's not telling you that he's still with this girl, but you can plainly see that they're going off together on breaks. And it just sounds like a whole mess. So that says a lot about B. I wouldn't bring any hot girls that you want to be with for the rest of your life around B, because he's got his eyes on women. And he is locked in on ones that are particularly close to people he is friends with, and it's just a mess. I swear to God, I'm seeing spots in my eyes right now. I am looking at this situation in front of me, and do you like these people a lot? I mean, I would start playing more video games and hanging out with these people less. The more I think about this, the more I'm like, God, this sounds like a fucking headache at work, and I'm seeing them go on. But then it doesn't involve you, so maybe you don't care. You're just sitting at your break table eating Cheetos, seeing them, I love you. Tony is such a bad husband. Yeah, Tony's a bad husband, but I'll be a good boyfriend. I'll be your dirty side boyfriend. How do you feel about that? Oh, yeah, I like it. And you're just eating Cheetos at your break table, like, what the fuck are my friends doing? So if it doesn't bother you, I mean, I wouldn't intervene. Again, if it were a situation in which she gets back with A's brother, and then B is still doing this stuff, definitely put yourself in A's brother's shoes and know that more than likely you would want someone to tell you if your wife was hoeing it up with some younger brother, friend thing, whatever. But again, it doesn't seem like it seems like everyone's getting hurt here except for you. So good for you. Yay! Your friends are all fucked up, but you're fine. Actually, A's okay, right? A's A-okay? It's just A's brother and the brother's separated wife, and B, who can't keep his dick in his pants around his friends. So that's interesting. That's how we're going to end it. If you guys have any awkward situations, leave them in the comment section below. And know that they will not get answered until, at the very earliest, an episode from now. Because, as I've said, I have enough situations to make an entire other episode. So I'm about a week behind on situations, or, an episode behind. So if you write a comment, I probably won't even read it until after I've already made the next episode. So just think about that. Keep that in mind. Thanks, you guys, for watching. Love you all. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Where were you on all the late nights and the bad breaks and the early flights? Now you hitting me like, how's life? Got a message and it sound like, do it like this. I've been on a